Hi, my name is Tori, and I teach people how to think inside the box. I guess it makes sense, because I am a professional contortionist. I easily squeeze into suitcases or boxes for a living.
But it wasn't always that way. I began my performance career touring the world as a dancer. I was doing what the majority of my friends I grew up with dreamed of. But internally, I was struggling. There was something missing I couldn't tangibly grasp. Until a specialty soloist joined our show. Her name was Natalia from Ukraine, and she was a contortionist. Even after being steeped in the performance world my entire life, I never saw anything quite like contortion up close. It wasn't only her extreme flexibility, it was her balance, strength, and a sense of calmness that really captivated me. Contortion was what I needed to do. That's what was missing. But the self-doubt creeped in. I was a 21-year-old dancer with no upper body strength. When I admitted my eureka moment to my castmates, they all laughed in my face. All but Natalia. She immediately gave me a few contortion lessons at midnight after our shows when the theater was empty. Her lessons were all in broken English, but they made so much sense. As our tour neared an end, she encouraged that I go to Mongolia to study Udon Nagolt, or Mongolian-style contortion. So I mustered the courage to blow the money I saved on tour. I dropped almost $3,000 on a plane ticket to go on a pilgrimage to a desolate nation that most people can't even locate on a map. I was placed in the beginner class, where I trained next to the most dedicated and calm group of 5-year-olds. I felt like Adam Sandler going back to school in Billy Madison. The first few days, I wanted to cry and panic as my full-grown womanly body morphed and congealed into unimaginable and foreign positions. After a grueling training session, I would lie on the floor for ages, unable to move or reconvene my shaking corpse. The hardest part of contortion was learning how to actually breathe and shatter the limits we etch in stone for ourselves. But when I looked around me, I began to notice how the little girls I trained with remained calm and patient. They approached each skill with intention. You could see them take a calm, shallow breath and turn within. There was no escaping the wrath of the stretch. There was something magical to be found within the discomfort. They taught me that the only way out was in. Ever since kindergarten or so, it's ingrained in our every fibers to think outside the box. It's one of the very first things we learn. That ideology is ritualized and idolized, especially in American culture. We're taught to be bigger, to have bigger houses, cars, to think externally and to eternally expand, to create new things and to revolutionize. And those are all great feats. I'm not saying not to do that. However, we get so caught up with the expansion that we neglect the contraction. We're so busy looking to social media and others for guidance and inspiration that we forget to turn inwards, to examine what is inside our box or what lies within us. We have so much to take in around us, we often default to nearly carbon copying the things we see. Not because we want to plagiarize, but because that's all we know how to do. Looking and thinking inside the box can be daunting. It can be like we're deep sea diving in a sunken haunted ship at the bottom of the ocean. But within that ship, there will be a box, a treasure box. And that is where your treasure is hidden. Because contortion is so physically demanding, it forces you to stop, look in, and focus solely on your breath and nothing but the breath. Nothing else matters. In Mongolia, contortion means exquisitely graceful and flexible. They believe if you can train your body to remain calm in uncomfortable positions, you can train your mind to do anything. Now, we're going to do a little meditation exercise. Most meditation coaches will have you think of a beach, a waterfall, a calm place. But I want you to channel the opposite. I want you to think of the last time you were either uncomfortable, apprehensive, anxious, or in excruciating pain. How did your body react when you felt like that? Was your clavicle tight? Did your fists clench into a ball? Were your palms sweaty? Did your forehead raise and your eyes bulge? As vividly as you can, try to embody all the tension you felt in that not so great time. Don't filter it, just feel the agony for a few seconds. Now close your eyes or soften your gaze. Try to recollect and pinpoint which muscle or body part held the most tension. Breathe in through your nose slow and out through your nose slower. When I am contorting, I hold tension in my forehead, so I will iron out those wrinkles. With each breath, I relax my forehead a little more. I'm not breathing through the mouth. I'm keeping it internal, in the nostrils. Really relax that one tense body part. Let it go, let it dissipate, and seemingly vanish. Now squeeze it again with all your might like your life depends on it. And now let it go, all the way. You can open your eyes now. For contortion training, I use PNF, or proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, which is broadening your range of motion by engaging and relaxing. PNF broadens your entire spectrum and gets you closer to 360 degrees. All of the tension, all of the relaxation. In an ideal world, I don't want to be as stiff as a board because I'll have no mobility. Nor do I want to be cooked spaghetti with no structure. I crave that happy medium. It is always moving and adjusting internally, even if it looks still from the exterior. And that is why I breathe through my nose, slow and controlled. It is not a massive exhale, because an abrupt, powerful breath will throw off your equilibrium. When I danced as a kid, I was so shy. I would panic and hold my breath on stage. My face would expunge into a beet red, and my feet would go numb. My coaches would tell me to breathe, but it was too terrifying to turn within, and I ignored them. I was naturally flexible. I could roll into a chest stand, but I'd hyperventilate and immediately roll out of it. A chest stand is the basic contortion pose in which I began this talk. Flexibility without control isn't flexibility at all. It's just chaos. So fast forward 20 years, I was teaching this 9-year-old girl a contortion private, and one of the very first things we did was roll into chest stand. So I demonstrated the trajectory of the move, and her jaw dropped to the ground. She was flabbergasted, and she screamed, "What? How did you do that? Adults can't be flexible." And it kind of took me by surprise. Here we have this young girl trying to learn something cool, thinking outside the box, like she was told, and what she found was a long list of no's and impossibilities. Adults can't be flexible. I can't do this. I can't do that. Barrier, 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 barrier. But I'm here to tell you that adults are capable of being flexible. The things we directly see from society outside our box are often myths. My coach's coach in Mongolia is a grandma in her 70s, and she can still do everything better than most professionals my age. She always says, stretching keeps you young. Age, race, body type, none of that matters. We need to rewrite the narrative and stop believing the barriers we find outside the box. One time, I did completely black out from stretching too far. 1, tingle. 2, stars. 3, I slipped into oblivion. A dark, starry tunnel engulfed me. Fleeting visions, distant dreams, and a whole lifetime that felt like years had passed by. I could feel my body convulsing, but I was in such a state of purgatory that I was completely paralyzed. My coach NK's voice delicately drilled through my eardrums. Tori! I felt my coach's soft but strong hand patting my arm, but I failed to respond. It took me a few long minutes to finally regain feeling. She reassured me that I am capable of this. I simply blacked out because I panicked and stopped breathing. Most contortionists begin as children. Turning in and breathing is one of the very first things they learn. One magic show that I did, there were a string of technical difficulties, and the stagehand forgot to remove me from the dark, cramped, cold metal box I was hiding in. I could feel the walls closing in on me. It felt like I was being buried alive. I had 2 options. I could bust out of the trapdoor, go running and screaming, "You forgot me!" I would have been blacklisted or fired, so I took the second option. I didn't run away. I remembered my contortion training. I turned in and focused on my breath, and it was terrifying. I saw the spiders, the cobwebs, the gunk, and the goo. But I trekked on. I had to get past the ugly. Initially, I saw the under the bed, the place where we go, where we shove all the things we don't want to deal with. Then we go out, think outside the box, ignore what's buried inside, pretend like we'll never have to see it again. But that stuff doesn't disappear like magic. I breathed through it, one breath at a time, and eventually I found solace in my dark, dusty, cold box. I found the key to my treasure box, and it was a game changer. I was finally able to find a sense of calm on and off stage. As Bruce Lee would say, calmness is a superpower. Thinking outside the box is speaking. Thinking inside the box is listening. I don't aim to be a public speaker. I aspire to be a public listener. It isn't just about what you prepare, perfect, and place on stage like it's a pedestal. It's about the reaction. How do you react when things go wrong? Because at some point, they will. You turn in and find that you are capable. The answers aren't in front of your face. They're inside your box. I'm not saying you have to be a contortionist. You don't even have to touch your toes. But try seeing the world like a contortionist. Find the courage to cultivate calmness so you will be capable of anything. There's a whole new world of impossibilities inside the box. And you are the only one with the key.